Okay, 11, here we go with completing the square. So first off, we've got ourselves a nice little rectangle here. I'm going to call that bit x, and this is going to be a square, this part, so that's x and x, that's x squared. And this bit here I'm going to call 6, so all the way across here is 6. So the area of the whole thing we might say is x squared plus 6x. Okay, I'm going to cut down here and move this rectangle, and move this around and pop it over here. Okay, so now what have we got? Well, that's certainly not 6 anymore. That's now going to be half of 6, that's going to be 3, and that's going to be 3. And so we've got this little square missing here. The area of that would of course be 9. So the area of the whole thing is also x plus 3 all squared, subtract 9. Notice that the 3 is half of the 6 because we cut the rectangle in half, and then the 9 is 3 squared because that's what it is, 3 times 3. So this would work for any particular number here. It didn't have to be 6. Let's do the same process, just halve this and subtract what's squared. It also works for if there's a minus here. You can draw a similar diagram for that, but it doesn't really show you anything new, so we won't. Let's get cracking on the questions. Okay, so for this one, that's going to be x plus 11 all squared. I'm going to subtract off 121, that thing squared. If you've got a number in front of x, you need to do what I would call a little bit of a cheeky factorise. So I'm just going to factorise out of this the first 2 bits, okay? And that's because I've now got inside this bracket the form that I want to be able to complete the square, which is x squared plus or minus some bit involving x. So now that can become 2 lots of x minus 2 all squared minus 4. There's a bracket, and then we've still got the minus 6 on here. If we just expand this out, you've got 2 lots of x minus 2 all squared minus 8 minus 6 just hanging around annoyingly on the end. But now we'll finish him 2x minus 2 all squared minus 14. Flawless victory. Okay, on to the next one. Again, we have to do a little bit of a cheeky factorise here because of this here. This minus is really a factor of minus 1. So I'm going to take a factor of minus 1 out of this, and then inside that I'm going to have x squared minus 10x. Okay, and now same kind of thing again. We'll keep the minus 1 there, and in there I'm going to have x minus 5 all squared, and then take away 25, and that's the completed the square bit done. But obviously I don't want this extra bracket hanging around, and so let's just multiply that out. So I've got minus x minus 5 all squared plus 25. Okay, so that's all well and good. Okay, now we can also use these things to say whether we've got a maximum or a minimum for a curve. So first off, let's just complete the square on this one. So that's going to be x minus 1.5 all squared minus 2.25. That's 1.5 squared is 2.25 plus 1. And so that must be x minus 1.5 all squared minus 1.25. Alright, so where would this be a maximum or a minimum? Well, it's going to be a minimum. That's because we've got a positive x squared there. And it's going to be a minimum at when this bit here is the smallest it can possibly be. Now that is going to be 0, because something squared can never be less than 0. And this will be 0 when x is equal to 1.5. Then if this bit's 0, then all that's left for the value of it is a 1.2 for minus 1.25 there. So that will be your coordinates of your minimum. Okay, and again this time now you've got a minus there, so that's going to be a maximum. And again we're going to have to do a little cheeky factorise, so minus 1 I guess, x squared plus 7x minus 12 hanging around there. Then we're just going to keep the minus 1, then here you've got x plus 3.5 all squared, take away 12.25, and then minus 12 on the outside. Now obviously that will multiply to make that negative, so you've got minus x plus 3.5 all squared plus 12.25 minus 12, and so that's going to give us minus x plus 3.5 all squared plus 0.25. So your minimum is going to be at minus 3.5, 0.25. For this one again, we'll do a little cheeky factorization. So we're going to have 2, I'm going to use a square bracket now because rather than square bracket, it's not going to mean anything different, it's just going to be able to differentiate between the two types of bracket. And then that's going to give us x squared plus 2x minus 1, and so that's going to give us 2, and now we complete the square, so x plus 1 all squared minus 1, then the minus 1 here is this minus 1. This minus 1 comes from completing the square, and so I've now got 2, and I multiply it out, 2x plus 1 all squared minus 2 from that, minus 1 from that, so just do it in one step, minus 3. This is going to be a minimum because it's a positive x squared graph, so it's going to be shaped like this. This is negative x squared, means that one was shaped like that, of course. And the minimum is going to be at minus 1, because that was to make this bit 0. When that bit is 0, what's left is minus 3. Sorted. Okay, so now we've just got the answers to the exercises. So if you haven't done it yet, then in Maths Watch style, please stop and do the exercises yourself. But if you have done them, here we go. So that one would be x plus 4, because we're going to halve that number, all squared minus 16. That's 4 all squared minus 16. This one will be x minus 9 all squared minus 81. This one is going to be x plus 3 all squared, and then you're going to take off 9 and then add 3, and so that's x plus 3 all squared minus 6. Okay, for this one you're going to have x plus 6 all squared minus 36 minus 5, and so that's x plus 6 all squared minus 41. For this one you're going to have x minus 3.5 all squared minus 12.25 plus 10, and so that's x minus 3.5 all squared minus 2.25. This one, x plus half of 5 is 2.5 all squared, take away 2.5 squared is 6.25 plus 9, and so that's x plus 2.5 all squared. 9 takes 6 is 3, take away that, so that's 2.75. Okay, on to the next page. This one's going to require a little cheeky factorise, so it's going to have 2x plus 4 x squared plus 4x, plus 4. Then complete the square inside those squared brackets, so x plus 2 all squared, take away 4, you get the plus 4 there. Now we may as well just expand this all out in one go, so 2x plus 2 all squared minus 8 plus 4, and so 2x plus 2 all squared minus 4. Okay, still more to go. Again, cheeky factorise needed here, and so that's 3 x squared plus 6x minus 6. Complete the square inside the bracket, 3, as we saw in our first example, x plus 3 all squared minus 9 minus 6, so we just expand that out, 3 x plus 3 all squared minus 27 minus 6, and so 3 x plus 3 all squared minus 33, and I'm sure those 3's made the person doing this smile. Okay, slight break because I'm about to reach 10 minutes. Alright, okay, carrying on. So this one again, a cheeky factorise. So 2 x minus 5 x squared minus 5x plus 3 to complete the square, x minus 2.5 all squared minus 6.25 plus 3, multiply through, so I've got 2 x minus 2.5, close our bracket, so that will be minus 12.5, so add the 3 minus 9.5. Okay, alright, still more of these to go. So this is the kind of times when you've got the negative here. A few years ago this threw a year 12 group in their exam. Absolutely no reason why it should throw you, so cheeky factorise minus first, x squared minus 12x minus 1. Now complete the square, minus x minus 6 all squared minus 36 minus 1, lose the bracket, minus x minus 6 all squared. That would be minus to minus would be plus 36 minus 1, 35. Okay, this one again, cheeky factorise, take the minus 1 out, so x squared minus 9x there, minus 3, so minus, and now we're going to have a decimal here, so x minus 4.5 all squared minus 20.25. I will show you the little trick for squaring these if you're wondering how, if you've been sitting there wondering how I'm doing that. And okay, so that's going to give us minus x minus 4.5 all squared, so that's going to be positive 20.25, take away 3 will give us plus 17.25. Okay, and then the last one on this section, so again we're going to take out a minus 2 here, and then that's going to give us x squared minus 2.5x, so then that's going to be minus 2 x minus 1.25, those brackets squared. I must confess I don't know what 1.25 squared is, so calculator time. 1.5625. Okay, so that's going to be minus 2 x minus 1.25 brackets squared, times that by 2. I think the calculator might be coming back. .125. So then we can just lose the 1 there, so minus 2 x minus 1.25 all squared plus 2.125. Sorted. Okay, if you're wondering about squaring these things, so basically if you've got 25 times 25, just increase one of them by 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 5 is 25. If you had like 95 times 95, just increase that one to be 10. 9 times 10 is 90, and 5 times 5 is 25. You may well want to set about generalizing or proving this, but it is just dead useful for this kind of activity or anything that involves a lot of squaring. Okay, so again we're going to be completing the square on these, and then we will be saying identifying the turning point and saying if it's a maximum or a minimum. So this one is going to complete the square to x plus 7 all squared minus 49. So that means that our turning point is going to be at minus 7 and minus 49, and because we have got a positive x squared there, that's going to be a minimum, because the graph will be shaped like this. Right, okay, if we've got a something like this. So x squared minus 18x plus 3 is going to be x minus 9 all squared minus 81 plus 3, and so it's x minus 9 all squared minus 78. So again, that's a minimum, and the coordinate is going to be 9 minus 78. So remember, that needs to be, where is this 0? That's when x is 9, and it's the minimum. What's left, the value will be minus 78. If x is anything other than 9, this bit will be bigger than 0 because it's squared. Okay, x squared minus 9x, so this is a decimal, so x minus 4.5 all squared minus 20.25, and so it's at 4.5 minus 20.25, and because that is positive, it's a max. It's a min. It's definitely a min. It's definitely not a max. Not getting confused. The next question's coming up. So this one, cheeky factorise, bring out the minus 1. X squared minus 4x, and then we're going to complete the square inside there, and so x minus 2 all squared minus 4, and so that's going to be minus x minus 2 all squared plus 4. Now this one therefore is going to be, when this is 0, so that's going to be a coordinate 2. Now what's left is going to be 4, and this one will be a max because it's a negative x squared, which means your graph is shaped like that. On we go, this one, so that's going to be x plus 5.5 all squared minus 5 times 6 is 30.25 plus 30, and so that's x plus 5.5 all squared minus 0.25. Now this is positive, so that's a min, and that's going to be at minus 5.5, 0.25. Okay, it's worth pointing out that any of these can be checked using a graphical calculator or graphing software such as the wonderful Desmos or GeoGebra. You should familiarise yourselves with these kinds of things. Right, on we go. This one, it's a negative one here, so that does mean it's going to be a max, and then we can just work it out. Again, we're going to have to do a little cheeky factorising of the minus 1 out. X squared minus 6x minus 7, so we'll just complete the square inside the square bracket. X minus 3 all squared minus 9 minus 7, so that's now going to be minus x minus 3 all squared plus 9. Negative times negative is positive, so plus 9, so that's going to be plus 2. So that means it's going to be a max. It's going to be at the coordinate 3, 2. Okay, almost there now. G, so this one again, a little cheeky factorise, so you bring out the 2 there, so it's 2 x squared plus 8x minus 5, and so we complete the square inside that, so it's 2 x plus 4 all squared minus 16 minus 5. If we then just expand the bracket out, so we've got 2 x plus 4 all squared. We've been doing it long enough now to just do this in one step. So 2 times 16 is 32, so that's going to be minus 37. That's positive, so that's going to be a minimum, and the minimum is going to be at minus 4 because that makes that 0, minus 37. Okay, and this is our last one. This is going to be a maximum because you have got a negative here. Okay, and then we're going to do a cheeky factorise and take that minus 3 out. So minus 3 x squared minus 5x minus 2, and so then we're going to complete the square inside the bracket, so it's minus 3 x minus 2.5 Okay, I'm back on minus 2.5 squared minus 2.5 squared is 6.25, close the bracket, minus 2, and then that's going to be minus 3 x minus 2.5 all squared minus, that's going to be 18.75, that's going to be positive, so take off the 2 will be minus 16.75. So maximum is going to be at 2.5 minus 16.75, and that's that.